Hello, good evening, everyone. Everyone in good spirit, I hope. And welcome to Ad America. So, for those of you who are here for the first time, Ad America is the American Cultural Center from the U.S. Embassy, Jakarta, where we have tons of events going on. So, before we start today's event, I would like to inform you about our upcoming events. So, relevant to today's event, we're going to have a presentation. We call it Tools for the Future with New Skills. So, if you're thinking of continuing your studies in the US, which I'm pretty sure that's why you guys are here, and you want to know more about this particular event, please do join this discussion. We're going to have it on Thursday, October 4 from 7 p.m. until 8:30 p.m. And next, we are going to have a performance. So this is New Breeze Volume 2, Finding Your Originality. This is their second time here. The first time was awesome. And it was a full house, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And so if you want to join the crowd, if you want to see their performance, please do join us. We're going to have them perform here on Saturday, October 6th from 5:30 until 8:30 p.m. And of course, Ad America has been in Jakarta since 2010. And so this coming December, we will celebrate our 8th anniversary. And if you want to know more about our upcoming events, please do register as a member because we have a free membership. All we need is your active email. So how can you become our member? It's super easy. You can just visit our website to www.adamerica.or.id, fill in your full name and also your email, and then we will update you through newsletter only once a week, every Thursday or Friday. And of course, talking about updates, we're very, very active on our social media as well. So make sure all of you follow and also subscribe to all of our social media. We have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Stellar, and also YouTube channel. If you want to share about today's event, feel free to use our hashtag either on Twitter or Instagram. You can also tag us on Ad America. And if any of your friends or family or colleagues even who cannot attend to today's event, you can refer them to our website because we're live streaming right now on our website. So you can just go to www.adamerica.or.id, click video, and then they can watch it from home. Okay, I'm pretty sure all of you guys are excited. So please welcome our education advisor, Fina Latas.
Thank you, Audrey. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming tonight. Usually, I would usually have the event on Thursday, but this time I would like to start something different. So I started on Tuesday. So it's a bit empty a little bit, but hopefully we're expecting more people coming in today. But I'm Fina. I'm one of the advisors for EducationUSA here at America, just in case this is your first time here at America. Again, thank you for coming, everyone. So in the next 2 hours, we're going to learn what is it that you need to know about studying in the US, right? So, of course, if this is your first time, I would like to run you through a little bit about what EducationUSA is. We are part of the US Department of State network of over 400 international students advising centers. We have in more than 170 countries. So basically what we do is we provide information for anyone who would like to study in the US. S1, S2, S3, right? In Indonesia, of course, we have in a couple of other centers. We have 8 centers with 10 advisors. So we have 2 in Jakarta. We have also 2 in Surabaya. We got 1 in Medan, Malang, Makassar, and Banda Aceh. So in Jakarta, we have 1 at the US Embassy and here at America. So the difference is that if you want to see one of our advisors at the US Embassy, you simply need to email them 24 hours before to gain an access inside the US Embassy. But if you don't want to get the hassle, you can just come in here at America because we open for public, and you don't also you don't need any appointment whatsoever because there's always one advisor standing by here ready to help you. So some of our services here with EducationUSA, we provide you with 5 services. We start with step 1, which is research your option. And then moving on, we talk about how are we going to finance your study? Is it going to be government-funded scholarship? Is it partial scholarship from the university? Or is it self-funding? We're going to take a look at some of the options. And then, of course, once you already know which university that you're going to go, we're moving on to the next step, which is completing your application, right? And basically what we're going to talk tonight is part of the step 3, and it's actually one of my favorite things to do here at America, reading your essay. So it's kind of like one of my hobbies here also. And then we're moving on to step 4 after you finish all your application process, and then you get accepted, and then and then the next step, of course, applying for the visa, the student visa, because it's actually not as hard as you guys might think. It's very straightforward. And then, of course, the last step is prepare for your departure, because every year we have what we call a pre-departure orientation here. It's open for public, of course, but the event is basically for everyone who is ready to leave the United States, right? Because we're going to learn what is it that you need to prepare before you leave, and what is it that you need to do, the first few things that you need to do when you get to the United States. All right, and if you want to check our upcoming events, the EducationUSA events, of course, you can go to EdAmerica website, but if you only want to take a look at the EducationUSA related events, you can go to educationusa.state.gov, all right? Again, there are 2 advisors here at EdAmerica. I'm Fina, and there's my colleague outside, Caroline. We are standing by here basically for you. We available every day. Kita mulai dari jam 1 siang sampai jam 9 malam. But on a Saturday, we actually started a little bit early. So it's going to be from 10 a.m. until 9 p.m., all right? I would also like to introduce you to what we call the EducationUSA Indonesia Targeted Advising Group. So if you've been here with us for a while, you might be familiar with our mentorship program. But we started mentorship program in 2015, and we actually just recently changed our name into EducationUSA Indonesia Targeted Advising Group. So what is the program is all about is basically a platform where you are going to work really close with the advisors, such as myself, and then if possible, I'm going to match you with either a current student, Indonesian students in the US, or an alumni that has a similar major that you want to take later on, okay? So basically the whole goal is to facilitate you with completion of successful application, okay? And of course, these services are free of charge. We have over 300 alumni database who are basically ready to help you. So please consider this program if you are actually in the process of applying right now, okay? Because the program is actually open all year long, so there is no deadline whatsoever. You can just apply whenever you find that you need like an extra guidance on your application process. So who are we looking for? Basically everyone who wants to study in the US, of course, but we also prioritize those who already have the scholarship with you. So such as the US government funded scholarship, including of course Indonesian funded scholarship as well. But of course if it's like private sector scholarship, like it's coming from your employer, we can also, you are also more than welcome to join. Very simple. There is no like application, but you just need to fill in this form to just leave some information about you, so I know a little bit about your background and what you want to study and so on. And of course, I would like to let you know our new program. I'm very excited to let you know that we have what we call the USSA Clinic. So we're going to have it about 1 to 2 times a month on a Saturday morning, right? It will be starting at 11 a.m. And so basically the USSA Clinic is, you have to pre-register before. So unfortunately, this is not something that you can do just coming in without your essay. But of course, I'm not gonna tell you, you have to leave the room. But basically the essay clinic is for those who have the essay, who have the draft, and you need some help reviewing together the essay. We only limit each session for 15 people. So I believe the form is already up if you are interested in joining the one that is going to be in this coming Saturday, October 6th. So the first hour of the session, we're going to take a look at maybe 3 to 5 essays together, where we're going to brainstorm basically together, right? And let's take a look what needs to be improved and something like that. And then the last hour of the session, I'm going to put you into a group of 3 where you're going to peer review the essay. And then I will basically just, like walk around and take a look how are you guys doing on the peer review essay. So more than welcome to join this essay clinic if you already have your first draft ready with you. All right, so are we ready now to talk about how to write a good essay? Can I have some hands if you are applying for next year? So you're applying, basically almost everyone, right? Okay, so we are definitely going to take a look at how to make your essay great, right? So we're going to talk about statement of purpose and or personal essay. But usually it's always started with what are the differences? Like there are like some terms here: statement of purpose, personal statement, personal essay, diversity statement, right? What are the difference? So let's take a look here. So statement of purpose, just what it's called, statement of purpose, is about you making a statement about your purpose, right? Of what is it that you want to do with the program, with what you want to do. Why do you want to do what you want to do? Basically, your career goals, your future goals is going to be in the statement of purpose. And then sometimes the universities would also ask you to write a short personal essay or personal statement. So basically, personal essay and personal statement, they are pretty much the same. And also, it's what it's called, it's something personal, right? Like you write something that is personal to you. It discusses your personal background. It's something general, right? You want to tell a story about, basically why you want to do what you want to do, right? Whereas the statement of purpose is a whole lot more, where after you talk a little bit about yourself, you are going to talk about the issue, if you have any idea, creative idea, if you want to start something new, right? And then how the university will help you achieve that dream and so on. Sometimes it's in the category of optional, but they would ask you to write a diversity statement. And of course, also similar, this is something, what it's called, it's a statement about like, if any like diversity story that you want to bring in. And I would say if you are quite active in, communities and all that, and in Indonesia, we are quite diverse already. So I'm pretty sure there are actually some interesting stories to deliver in the essay, right? The general requirements, some application, they would ask you to write just a statement of purpose, but there are also some campuses where they give you a set of questions. Sometimes it's 3, maybe sometimes 5 bullet points of questions that you need to answer. But usually the words limit is about 250 to 750, or about 2 pages. Although you might have some universities that says nothing about word limit, right? So, but it doesn't mean that you can write as long as you want. But the thumb rule is if you can keep it no more than 750 or no more than 2 pages, that would be great, right? And usually it's about 1 to 2 single-spaced pages, and standard font, 12.1-inch margins times New Roman, the usual. So, but of course, before you start writing your essay, you definitely want to ask these questions. Who basically will read this essay, right? It's very important. You definitely need to know the audience. You can't just write an essay just for the sake of writing an essay because of the university is asking for it, right? But you have to kind of like writing the essay as if you write that essay addressing it to someone, right? Like making a letter in some sort. And of course, the audience here is the admission committee. Typically, it's the faculty member, so it can be the professor that if you get accepted, you're going to be in his or her class, right? So this is also good if you can also mention the university, no, the course or the professors in your essay, and then feel free if you want to make an introduction by emailing this professor just to start an introduction. That would be very helpful as well, because then when that specific professor is actually in the admission committee when you're applying, they will know you, right? And it's gonna be like getting very personal, and it's actually a good thing also. What are they looking for? It's also another next question that is quite important. They are basically looking for a story, but then of course it's not a story about what have you been doing in the past, because usually the essays that I would usually read when the advisees understand that yes, it's a story, but sometimes it's a story about what they've been doing in the past, whereas actually the story that the universities are looking for is actually something that is like going forward, like you're talking about the goal, right? So they also look for, of course, your maturity, your self-knowledge, purpose. You're going to realize that I throw in this word purpose a lot in the next coming of slides, because then you definitely need to show that in the essay, right? The purpose, the drive, because if you apply to US campuses or you're doing master's degree just because everyone else is doing it, it's gonna show in the essay that you can't really tell the purpose of what you wanna do, right? And of course, writing skills and articulateness. Let's take a look at some of the characteristics for a successful essay. And let's break it down, each and one of this. You definitely want to be able to demonstrate a passion for the profession, right? You have to have like a clear idea of why do you want to do a certain thing, right? Has a significant role in a meaningful research project. If you're doing some research, or if you want to do some research, you want to elaborate, not just by saying that you want to do a research, but you would definitely want to elaborate on that. Demonstrates strong leadership, initiative, or idea if you want to start something, or if you want to change something that is what already happened in Indonesia, for example. It is going to be in your essay. Number 4, well acquainted with the admissions process at schools being considered. So you basically, it's not going to be a good essay if you're just saying that you're applying because this university is ranked number 5 or something like that. But you have to like do your research about the department, not just about the university that you want to apply, but the department of that university. You have to be able to tell how this university is different, how this department is different from the other university, right? So sometimes I would find some advisees that they can't really explain something special about that specific university. And so I would tell this person to do your research first, learn as many as possible about that specific department, and then put that in the essay, and then it's gonna show that like you've done your research, because in the US, they're not only want to have you, but they only want you to show them that this university even before you're applying, right? No strength and fit of institutions, kind of like related to number 4. And then of course, demonstrate clear career goals. So if you take a look at this 6 points, this is kind of like the structure of the essay itself, right? So number 1 is kind of your introduction paragraph, and then we're going to take a look about each of this in the next coming of slide. And then number 2 is going to be your, number 2 and 3 is going to be on your second paragraph, kind of like telling about, is there any like story that you want to tell? Do you want to start something? Do you want to change something, right? What is the issue? If you want to study like LLM in maritime law, why do you want to do that? Is there like a specific condition in Indonesian Ocean or something like that that you want to address? You will want to be elaborate on that. And then demonstrate strong leadership. Yes, it's going to be on the second paragraph. And then number 4 and 5 is kind of like the paragraph before the conclusion paragraph, where you're talking for that one paragraph everything about that university. But then again, that paragraph, you don't want to be too general. You don't want to just say, like I mentioned earlier, like, yeah, I applied to your university because you have a great program and you're actually ranked top 5 in the US. It's already like something that is obvious. Like the university is actually looking for more. Like what makes you really decide you want to study here, you know? And then of course, number 6 is the conclusion paragraph. Okay, questions, couple of questions. Actually not a couple, we have a lot here. Questions to ask yourself when writing statement of purpose. This is kind of like the important questions as well that you want to ask yourself. The first one is going to be reflected on your introduction paragraph. Why do you want to do what you want to do, right? You basically want to explain that on the first paragraph. What is like the aha moment that tells you that this is it? I want to do this, and in order for me to do this, I need to, go to a higher degree. What is, if any, the issue you would like to address? Tell the condition that is going on. A lot of people think that by you talking a little bit about Indonesia, like what is going on in Indonesia, what is it exactly what you want to do, it's not a good thing, but it's actually the opposite, by telling the story of what happened in Indonesia, because they know that you are an international student and they will assume that after you graduate, you're going back to Indonesia and you're going to do something in Indonesia. So you definitely want to elaborate on that story as well, right? Any relevant research, internship work prior to the study, but that is related to what you want to do in the future. Because sometimes when I say this, a lot of people thought, oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna list every research internship I've done in the past. And no, you don't want to do that, because in the beginning, I tell you guys that the story is not about what you've done in the past, but what is it that you want to do in the future, right? And how you get there. How the program and university you choose over another able to help you address the issue. This is where you want to be very creative. You definitely want to do your research very, very well, right? What makes the university different than other universities, and why should they select you over another candidate, right? So basically, after you kind of like understand the structure, after you understand what is it that the admission committee are looking for, you start to realize if you are actually planning to apply not only to the US but other countries, how the essay for the US is very, very different. So my tips number 1 is that if you're applying to other countries, of course, it's your choice, right? But do not use that essay to apply to the US. Because sometimes I would also ask or take a look at some of the essays that you guys actually use to apply to other country, and then that is actually not what the university in the US is really looking for. Many, many times it's all about you telling a narrative story about what you've done in the past and how you have good leadership skill, how you have you've been doing this and that. You went to this college, you got this specific GPA, and then at this year I did internship, and then I work here and there. That's usually the other kind of essay that I would read, but then that is definitely not the essay that you want to use to apply to the US, because they are asking a completely different thing. In the US, They're not only want to have you just because so then you can graduate, but they also want to know why are you deserve to be in our campus? How can you be part of our community? How can we help you? But then in return, how can you be of value to our campus? So this is also what I think what makes the US is quite unique, you know what I mean? Because it's not only about like your academic performance, but it's so much more. And by you writing this essay, it will make a lot difference, big differences, right? Because the other document is everything basically like your GRE score, your transcript score, your TOEFL score, just numbers, right? But there's no way for them to like really know you. And statement of purpose is basically, or personal essay, if you're still in high school and you want to study a bachelor's degree, this is actually the time for you to actually kind of like sell yourself, but like of course like in a good way, and like really tell you tell them your bigger goals, right? What goals, purpose you would like to achieve after the program. That is always always have to be in the essay also. Yeah, exactly what I just said. What makes your statement of purpose great? It's all about fit, because most applicants, right? You may have top-notch GPA score, 4.0 GPA, but good statement of purpose will make a difference, right? Holistic. If you've been doing advising with me one-on-one, I would usually use the word holistic. It means that they always balance out all the application documents. So there is no like the most important application document when you're applying to the US, but it's all balanced. And they're going to review it holistically. So for example, if you have a lot of people here, the first thing that they would tell me that they're concerned the most is, yeah, my GRE is not good, or my GMAT score is not good, or my GPA score back in college is just okay. But it's actually so much more than great. So for example, if you've taken GRE scores and then your scores is just an okay, like okay score, like nothing great or anything like that, but then you have a great essay, they will forget about your GRE score, right? So it's all about balance. But then it doesn't mean that if you already have great GPA score, and every other documents is already great, it doesn't mean that, oh yeah, it means that I don't have to write an essay that is very good because everything else is already good. No, the essay is also very crucial, because this is, again, like this is the way for the university to like really know you, and they're always looking for someone that can bring something different. So this is also something that I always tell, the fact that we are not international students from countries that have already a lot international students in the US, like China or India, but we are coming from Indonesia, right? Yes, we do have almost 9,000 Indonesians currently studying in the United States, but it's still, if you really look at the bigger picture, it's still relatively low. So the fact that you are going to apply as an Indonesian applicant is already unique at some point. So by you having an even great essay, you will have like a better chance to get in, right? Of course, you definitely, when you write, you want to be very clear. Don't assume that your reader understands everything. What does that mean? It means that assume that if you want to talk a little bit about Indonesia, if you want to talk about the issue that is going on in Indonesia, something that you want to change in Indonesia, you will want to be very clear about it. Let's assume that the reader doesn't know anything about Indonesia, right? So if you want to mention some area in Indonesia that is not Jakarta, for example, you will want to kind of like explain a little bit about. So for example, if you want to use the word, I don't know, the place like Ambon or Papua or something like that, you want to kind of like explain the eastern part of Indonesia, just to kind of like give them the idea, not simply by saying, you know, like born and raised in Medan or something like that, without like really clear about where the location is. Or if you want to bring in some issue that is going on in Indonesia that is quite specific only in Indonesia, where other countries might not really know about what it means, you will want to kind of like give a little bit of background about it. Concise, use words economically, because like I mentioned earlier, you don't want to write like too long. Many times I would read some essays, some part on the essays where there are some part that is just quite unnecessary, and this is basically where I'm coming in, right? You don't have to worry about when you write, just write everything that come up on your mind, and then it's going to be my part to kind of like tell you, yep, this is unnecessary. Unnecessary means something like you kind of like already say it, or this is kind of like too obvious or something like that. So the idea is just to write something to the point, but not like in a boring way, all right? Of course, well written. You don't want to have like some grammar error. Unfortunately, since I'm not an English native speaker, I may have like some grammar error here and there. I don't feel comfortable in checking your grammar 100%, but if there's something obvious, I might, just like make some changes in there. But if you can have like an English native speaker or two to basically check only on the grammar, you don't have to ask them to tell if the essay structure is already good, because spare their time a little bit. Just ask for checking their grammar, and then for the structure itself, you can always come back to EducationUSA for some feedback on that, right? You want to be very organized, meaning that you definitely want to answer all questions. So when we do review, when we do one-on-one advising, and I would read your draft, the first question that I would ask is, what is the question? And then either you pull it up from your phone, or you would put it on your draft itself, or then I would actually rewrite it after I read it from your phone on the essay. And then when I read your essay, I would back and forth reading the question, making sure that you would actually answer the questions. And many times, believe it or not, you guys actually, some of the essays that I've read in the past, they don't actually answer all questions. Like there are actually some part that would be missing, and that is also my part to kind of like tell you if that is the case, right? It has to be relevant from one paragraph to another, because many times also I would read some essays where you would talk something about creating an engineering machine, right? For example, like that is your goal, right? For example, and then the next paragraph, all of a sudden you would talk about you did volunteering in some local villages, helping the locals with their English, right? And then I know the purpose is because you want to kind of like tell the admission committee that you've done some activities, works in the past, but it's no, like I would just like cross that out. Like you don't say it unless what you've done with the volunteer work has something to do with what you want to do with the engineering machine, right? So it has to be very related, because again, if you go to the next the first few slides, you want to create a story, right? But that story has to be in one theme, right? It has to be related to one another. That's why the structure is basically the simple one. If I can wrap this session in 1 minute, it's kind of like, okay, how to write the essay. You start with the introduction paragraph, tell you what you want to, why you want to do what you want to do, tell a little bit about yourself, what is the aha moment that tells you that this is it, I want to do this. And then you're moving on to tell the story, like why do you want to do this? If you want to do LLM in corporate law, talk a little bit about corporate law. Why do you want to why you want to be a lawyer specifically in corporate law? Is there like a lot of demands going on in Indonesia in corporate law? Is there like something that you need to fix in some of the corporates in Indonesia? What is it? Like why, right? And then we're moving on to tell about how you're going to achieve that goals by going to this specific department. What makes this department can be very helpful in reaching you to be a great lawyer in corporate law, right? And then you have to be very like specific in it too, like what makes this university different and all that. And then you close it with what is your future goal, basically. Like you want to be a corporate law, but then like what is like the bigger, the ending goal here, right? Where were we? Organize, relevant from one sets you apart from other applicants. So by telling a story about yourself that is quite different than other applicants. So this might be kind of like tricky if you want to study MBA. Ada yang mau study MBA nggak di sini? All right, great. Yeah, I see a couple of hands. Sometimes it's tricky because most of the MBA essays that I've read, usually when you think about MBA, what people know about MBA is all about, in the future, is all about you working for yourself maybe, and you making a lot of money for yourself. So it's very like self-centered in a way, right? But if you have like some vision of why you want to do what you want to do the MBA program for, if there is like some social aspect that you can bring, it's going to make like a really great MBA essay, right? Speaks to your audience, of course, the admissions committee. You will want to be able to establish your voice. If you have like if you believe in something, if you believe that you need to change something, you need to, like change the condition of Indonesia in something, whatever field that you want to study, you will want to kind of like show that on the essay as well. So be ambitious is definitely fine as well. Be honest, but of course don't overinflate your achievement, but also don't underestimate your potential. And sometimes when you talk to strangers, like myself, when we do the one-on-one advising, it's actually kind of like when you will be able to kind of like tell more story, because sometimes when you talk to your, I don't know, like your closest friends or colleagues, you might think that, oh, am I boosting too much because I want to do this and that? But actually by talking to strangers, you kind of like be, like agak lebih luas. All right, so the do's, when you write an essay, give yourself plenty of time to write it. So if I can be honest, this time of the year, like exactly like this October, November, if you just start writing the essay while your deadline is actually in the next coming of months, that is actually not a good idea at all, because you definitely want to spare a lot of times in writing it, because believe it or not, the more revision, the better. Sometimes people kind of like tired of me keep requesting you to keep writing a new revision from one revision to another, but trust me, it's so worth it. In the end, we're going to have like a very great essay by doing more revision. Or even sometimes you will get sick of me, like you would come one time and then I would read your essay, and for that one paragraph I would say, yeah, no, this is good, like just keep it. Or maybe I would like suggest like some things like, yeah, maybe you can change a little bit in this part here and there. And then the next couple of weeks you would come back and then I would read the same thing that I would say last time it was good, and then I would say, yeah, maybe this is not good. So then I would ask you to change something else. But then in the end, you will see, because I've read many essays, and I actually learned from you guys, from Indonesians in the past, also from their essays, that to kind of like making the connection of those students that I have helped writing the essay and those students that actually get accepted afterward. So I kind of like can make a little bit of guess of what is it that the universities are looking for, right? So yeah, give yourself plenty of time. If your deadline is not until early next year, it's also kind of like already late because it's already in October. So if you want to start writing your first draft now, this is definitely the time, right? And then feel free to come to America and see me, and then I can tell you kind of like where you are in the essay. Like, do you need like a lot of revisions? Do you need just a couple of revisions, or what have you, right? Be sure to answer all questions asked. Like I mentioned earlier, believe it or not, a lot of times without you actually realizing it, you guys actually, you might actually miss the question, or you think you answer the questions, but you actually don't, right? And this is also something that I will help you clarify it. Come up with a theme, like I mentioned earlier. The writing the essay is about you creating a story, but it's not a story of your life in the past. It's like a theme, like you want to create something. If you want to be, I don't know, like a startup something, you want to kind of like talk about that startup from the beginning until the end, right? Begin with an attention-grabbing lead or introduction paragraph. You want to create an attention-grabbing paragraph. So this is a must. If I can underline this, if I can bold this, I would do that. It's a must, right? If you're taking some notes, you have to create a perfect, not great. So if you think that I don't think I will be able to create a perfect essay, it's fine. We can make it great, right? But the introduction paragraph, it has to be perfect. There is no other way. Why? Because you want to let the admission committee keep reading your essay. Because believe it or not, when you have a boring introduction paragraph, they are actually going to skip your whole essay. It's not that they're going to just, okay, you're not going to, you're not getting accepted, but they're just not going to read it. But then again, like I mentioned in the first few slides, the SOP will make a lot of differences about you as an applicant, right? Create something that they will like really, oh my God, like this story is amazing. Or maybe sometimes they would even like dig it up, right? If you talk about like some paradise islands in Indonesia or something like that, I don't know, like depends on your, what you want to study, right? They would actually look it up, right? You have to like get their attention, right? Articulate a clear, realistic purpose. You definitely have to be able to tell why do you want to do it, right? Use concrete examples of life, academic and professional experiences to distinguish yourself, but not like everything that you've done in the past, right? But something that you've done in the past, but you can kind of like relate that to what you want to study. If you don't have it, it's fine. We can find something else, right? We can move on and create another story. Ignore negatives and focus on your strength. Why do I mention here? Because sometimes I would read something how you're, like mention about you're being failure in some part of your life, or you would talk about you're not, having like a good grade or whatever. You don't have to do that. I mean, it's a fact. We know that it's a fact, but I would call it it's an unnecessary, right? You don't have to write something like that in the essay. Form conclusions that explain the value and meaning of your experience, your future goals, and your future plans. The don'ts, of course, grammatical errors is very important. So if you know someone that is an English native speaker, make an introduction, ask them nicely if they would be willing to check your grammar. Sometimes if you ask them this way, hey, do you mind reading my university essay? Sometimes they kind of like reluctant in doing it because it means that they kind of like assume that you want this person to kind of like take a look at your whole essay, right? And a lot of people actually not feel comfortable in doing that. So instead of saying that, you may ask, do you mind just checking my grammar, right? Just checking the grammar, right? Don't use personal pronouns like we or us. Contraction like they've, couldn't, should have. You want to spell that out. They have, could not, should have, just to make it neat in the paper. Don't listing all experiences and achievements, because then again, it's going to be like a narrative story out of your resume, right? It's something that you can write on your CV, but not on the essay, right? But if you want to list it, you want to explain it, and as long as that is related to what you want to do in the future, it's fine. If not, I would take that out. Exactly related to the previous one, an autobiography or resume approach. You don't want to do that, and this is basically the case. A lot of the essays that I've read in the past is basically a very resume approach, right? So sometimes like you would say something like you would try to tell the admission committee that graduated with 3.7 GPA. You don't have to do it. You can put your GPA on your CV or on your resume, right? Cliches, something like I've always wanted to make the world a better place, or starting something with quotes, right? Something that is just, I don't know, it's just not you, right? When you quote something, it's coming from some other people, right? It's not you. So where the essay is basically like a story about you. So I would also call that an unnecessary part of the essay. So you don't want to be cliches. You want to be very specific, right? Yes, the ending goal is you want to make not the world probably, but Indonesia, for example, you want to make the Indonesia a better place, right? But then you want to be very specific, like why, in what aspect you want to make Indonesia a greater place, all right? References to experiences or accomplishments before college, and then people sometimes would go, but I won like this Olympic back in high school. Yeah, no, it's fine. We don't have to say, yeah, okay, it's fine, but you don't have to say it. Just start with in college, especially if you are still in high school now and you want to use this essay for bachelor's degree, then it's going to be definitely want to mention that in the essay. Controversial or highly unconventional topics, religions, politics, something like you want to kind of like tell that the facts is kind of, the short story is kind of like you want to tell that the government is failing in doing something, and then you would say it like you don't want to badmouth the government because it's, you know, it's kind of like a controversial topics. The way to say it is you can just like say it in one sentence how, you know, unfortunately the government fails in la 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 la, and this is how I want to fix it or something like that. So just go forward, go to the positive aspect of it, right? Don't assume that your reader understands everything. I think this is like what the third time I put it here, because you definitely want to be careful that you write this essay to the admission committee and not for yourself, right? Don't overinflate your achievements, but also don't underestimate your potential also. All right, so this is going to be like the structure. We're moving on to the technical part of the essay. You will want to start with an introduction paragraph, right? Like I mentioned earlier, it has to be perfect. You have to create an interesting introduction paragraph. There are like so many ways to do it to grab their attention. You want to be funny in your introduction paragraph. If you have a funny story to begin with, go for it, right? The idea is you want them to keep reading your essay. So it's kind of like reading a book, for example, right? Like you want continue reading a book if it's boring to you, right? But if it's like interesting, you will want to keep reading. So it's kind of like similar to essay also. And then you're moving on the second paragraph. I call it the body paragraph number 1. You will want to talk about your current interests, right? And why your interests in that. Are there some issues that you want to tackle? Are there some issues that you want to change? Your research purpose, your career goals. If you're writing this for bachelor's degree, if you're still in high school, of course you will ask like, I don't have like any work experience, like I'm still in high school. So then basically like the structure is the same. You will still want to create an attention grabbing introduction paragraph, but the other few paragraphs is something that is very unique about you. So that's why if you're still in high school, the university is not asking for statement of purpose, but they're asking for a personal essay. So it's something about something that is personal about you, right? Why do you want to study what you want to study if you already know what you want to study, right? There's one example. And then you continue to the next paragraph, the body paragraph number 2. You can elaborate even more if you still want to talk about it. That's fine. And then the fourth paragraph is the body paragraph number 3, is the whole paragraph where you want to talk about the university, right? What makes the universities different than others, something that I've already said in the previous slides. And then you close it with your conclusion paragraphs. But you want to be very like clear about it in writing the conclusion paragraph. Talk about like your future plans and all that. So let's take a look at one of these components, right? So the introduction paragraph, it's a statement of who you are and where you are going, actually. You know, I would say this is the only, maybe this is like one of the parts or not, if not the only part where you would talk kind of like going backward, kind of like tell the story of why you want to study specific program, right? Is there like some influence in the past or something like that? You want to tell that in the first paragraph. You should foreground qualities that make you stand out from other applicants. I would tell people that when you write the introduction paragraph, do not write something that you may think other people can write the same thing, right? So maybe, yeah, exactly. Like you don't want to be like, you don't want to sound like very cliche. Like you don't want to say something like, I want to study business because I want to help the economics of Indonesia or something like that. It's like very boring. Like everybody else can say that. Every other applicants from Indonesia can say that. But you have to be like, make it very different. But also like actually the whole concept of this essay is by you asking yourself, do I think other applicant can write something like what I write? Once you reach the answer that is no, it's good, right? So you don't want to like write something that is very general. If you're gonna write something general, you have to elaborate. If you're making a statement, you want to elaborate on your statement. So of course, like I always mention, the fact that we are from Indonesia, assuming that you guys are all from Indonesia, we already have like a strong point in the introduction paragraph. I believe there's so much more that you guys can tell in the introduction paragraph, right? If you're coming from area of part of Indonesia where not majority of your the locals in your hometown would go to the US, for example, that is already create like a very unique story to begin with, right? Or maybe if you're like the first generation to attend college or something like that, that can also boost up your essay. And this is like just an example of what an attention grabbing paragraph, right? The passing of my mother and grandmother from breast cancer when I was 15 years old opened up my eyes to a new perspective on life. I became intensely interested in scientific research with aspirations to better understand and possibly find a cure for cancer. This is like an example of something that you would not read every day. You know what I mean? Like it's not like an everyday thing that you would write, that you would be interested in finding a cure for cancer because this person actually lost a mother and grandmother when he was only 15 years old, right? So that kind of stories that will make the reader to like read more of your essay until the end. Discuss the genesis and evolution of your research interests. What do you intend to study in graduate school and why? How did you get interested in your field, right? Basically, you want to create a story about, if there's a story of what makes you want to, basically the aha moment, right? What is the aha moment that you decided that, yeah, I want to study in the US? Or yes, I want to do this in for life. And for me to do it, I need to study in the US because this specific university has this and that, has this and that. What is a tie in between your inspiration and your current research interest? What is about your field of study that motivates you to pursue a graduate degree? And why is the master's degree or PhD or bachelor's degree is your next and only logical step, right? You would definitely want to be able to tell all this on your essay. Again, always tips from me, because it's very hard to write a very interesting introduction paragraph. So what I like to tell people is, yeah, just sit down and like really think about the moment where, like, yes, I want to do this. So sometimes I would get people like, I actually want to study in the US because my colleague want to study in the US. So like they don't find the aha moment yet. And then I was like, yeah, there's gonna be a problem. You have to think, rethink about that. Like you have to sit down and like really reflect on yourself and really ask yourself, why do I want to do this, right? The body paragraphs is the longest portion of your statement. It's kind of like the technical part where you talk about like the issues, kind of like very formal, very technical. That's why you want to start the essay with something interesting, right? Because on the next few paragraphs, you're going to talk like you're getting into business. Like I'm going to talk about like the issue and all that. Demonstrate your research or other relevant experience if you've done some research in the past and how you want to even, you know, like learn or dig in more about that research by studying in the US. You tell that on the essay. Highlight your research goals, displays your fluency with the discourse of the discipline, like, so it shows that you really know your thing. You know what I mean? Like, you're not just applying just because, you know. Again, it discusses influence or inspiration in your development as a researcher. Explain how all of your research relevant experience. It's very, again, if you take a look at these two slides, it's very technical, right? It's just like a room for you to basically talk about like the issue, your idea, if you have some new ideas and all that. The reasons why I have like a lot of points here, this is like the paragraph where you talk about the university, is because many times when I read the paragraph where you guys talk about the university, I'm not convinced enough. Because when I read your draft, I will try to put myself as if I am the admission committee, and then many times I just don't feel convinced enough. Like, still, a lot of people would write something that is like just very general, very something that I already know, you know? Because then again, like, you definitely need to know your audience, right? The audience is admission committee. And the whole idea of you writing this essay is for you to convince them that you deserve to be getting accepted, right? And you have to be able to do that in that one paper or 2 pages of paper of essay. So this basically are the questions that you need to ask yourself. You definitely want to explain why graduate school is the next logical steps for you. Discuss your plans to accomplish what you want to do while you're there. Maybe specific department of the university that you want to have like a very distinguished association or something, right? And then where they do like a lot of internship program or something like that, and it's kind of like different than other universities. You want to say something like that, right? So this is why before you write the essay, you definitely have to spare some time to really do some research about the university that you want to apply for that only one specific paragraph, but very important, right? Explain the benefits of the program in preparation for your next educational profession. So if you have some idea that you want to raise, or you want to address, or you want to start after you're back to Indonesia, or an issue that you want to help to change, you have to be able to relate that to the campus, right? It's hard, right? But if you can't find it, it means that university is not the right university for you, right? You have to be able to like elaborate, look, I want to change this. I want to build this program in Indonesia where in the future people will, I don't know, right? But then you have to be able to connect that with how the university will be able to help you on that. So I know it's very hard, but my tips is, if there is like a course, like one of the courses that is very important in helping you do that, you mention that on the essay. And then that's when it's kind of like you've done your research in doing it, right? Mention the professor is also good, right? Exactly, on the next part. Mention a particular researcher or professor who inspired you to apply for the program, right? It doesn't have to be a professor that inspired you, but if there is one, then that would be really great, right? Refer to specific aspects of the program that match your interests. What attracts you to the program? What makes this program is different than other universities, right? What particular professors from the program would be appropriate for you to work with? Include a sentence or two about their research. So then this is also like shows the admission committee that you've done your research and you're just not applying just because, all right? And then of course, you will have a conclusion paragraph. Use what has already been stated to kind of like wrapping up what you've already saying on the first few paragraphs. But then avoid regurgitating earlier sections. Explain what your academic or career goals are after the programs, and you can be very you can be ambitious about it, right? If you are, look forward to working with the Indonesian government to do this and that, and then say it, right? Or after my study, I will, like work with the locals where I would create a program, la 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 la, la, right? Writer's block. Any of you know what writer's block is? Writer's block is when you try to write, but you just like, I have no idea why I'm doing this. I have no idea what I need to say. I just don't know what to say. That is what writer's block is. But don't worry, I have some tips for you. So sometimes when English is not the first language, and then you know the fact that you have to write it in English, it's kind of like you will experience some writer's block because it's kind of like limit your brain, because like you have like so many ideas in your mind that, yeah, I'm gonna write this, I'm gonna write about this, I'm gonna write about that, but then you kind of like have to, but I have to like use it in English and I don't know how to say it. And that's when everything that you have in mind is kind of like not really shown on the paper. So in order to do it, if you feel comfortable in doing it in Bahasa when you're brainstorming, do that in Bahasa, right? If you feel comfortable in writing the essay in Bahasa first and then you convert it in English, that is one of the ways to do it. Or the words limit. Sometimes like people already kind of like, oh my God, this is only 500 words limit. I don't know. I don't think I can do it because there are so many stories that I want to tell the admission committee. There is no way I can only tell it in 500 words. And then when you start writing, you kind of like very careful, like, okay, am I reaching the 500 yet? So my tips is that forget about the words limit. Like you just have to understand like what are the words limit that the university is looking for. But when you start writing, forget about all those limits. Just write as long as possible, right? And then if you're just not sure which part that is need to be taken out, just come here and I'll tell you. Basically, I'll help you in basically telling you, yeah, this is have to, this has to go, this one stays, no, you have to change this and all that, right? Ask others who know you well or may not know you well, like myself, right? Because sometimes when you talk to like, your closest friends or your immediate family, sometimes there are like some tendencies where these people would not like tell like the honest part because they don't want to hurt your feeling, right? So then they would say, oh yeah, no, this essay is very like it's perfect already, like it's the best. But actually there are like some part that is actually so much more than that. So by you having me reviewing your essay, I'm going to be your stranger, right? I don't know anything about you. So, and I'll be very honest. It's going to be very easy for a stranger who doesn't know you to be just very honest in telling you if you already have like a good flow or not. All right? All right, so let's take a look at some common mistakes prospective international students make when writing U.S. university essays. Common mistake number 1, writing your personal essay or statement of purpose close to the deadline. It happened a lot. The first few questions beside what are the questions of your essay is I would ask, when is the deadline, right? And then if you would tell me, oh yeah, not until next year, good. But sometimes I would get some advisees coming in, when is the deadline? And they would say tomorrow or next week. And I said, no, no, because you need to have revision. Although there were also some people coming in and then they would say, yeah, I just need you to take a look at my essay. And then I take a look at it and then I would ask, when is the deadline? Tomorrow. And then I would say, good. I mean, there is nothing for me that needs to be changed, right? Because it's already good. So this person clearly just needs someone to kind of like make sure that this person's essay is already good. But unfortunately, it's only happened like, I don't know, I think like once a year or something. But other than that, it's always like that. When is your deadline? next week. And I'm like, no, but you need to have a lot of revisions because, and then I have to kind of like go over again, like the structures, because in the US, they're looking for this and that and this, and then they have to do like the whole revision within 1 week. And I don't want that to happen to you. I mean, I'm standing by here. I'm standing by here. I will definitely do my best for you to create until you get the best essay. But I mean, in 1 week span, it's not enough, right? Unless you already have like a good writing skills to begin with. So usually there are two things that I take a look at when I read the essay. It's about your writing skill and it's about the content, right? If you already have a good writing skill, but the content is still needs some changes, it's easier to do some revision in a shorter time of period, right? But the problem is when I would find or I would meet or I would read someone's essay where the writing skill is not there yet, right? And then the content is already definitely not what the admission committees are looking for. And that is going to be a problem, right? So yeah, personal essay and statement of purpose is an integral part of the application. You have to be very, very understand about that. The admission committees, they put a very hefty weight on essay, right? As they want to see whether you take the interest in letting them know how much you want to study at their university, right? And then of course, I put it in capital letters, resume is not statement of purpose, right? Because you do not want to just write a story coming out of your CV or resume, right? I think this is one of the problems because a lot of people thought writing an essay is just like creating a story of what you've done in the past. And of course it's easy, right? All you need to do is just like just writing about I graduated in this year, I graduated with 3.6 GPA, I studied this, my thesis is this, and then in this specific year, I work at this. It's very easy. I think this is like one of the reasons, I don't know, maybe, like one of the reasons why people, oh yeah, okay, I'm just gonna write it when it's close to the deadline. But no, to the US essay, no, you don't wanna do that at all. You want to proofread it, avoid poor grammar and misspelling words. It's very important, guys, because it will show you how you really put a lot of your time, your effort in this writing essay, right? If you have like some misspelling words, it just tells you that you basically just simply, you know, like either you're in a rush or you just not pay attention more on that, right? Of course, the more revisions, the better. So if you have me as someone who would read your essay and I would ask you to revise your essay over and over again, trust me, I'm not trying to make your life harder. I just want to help you get like the great essay. Because trust me, like I'm not frustrated. I'm not like when someone coming in with their essay, I'm actually super happy because I love reading essay. Like seriously, because I don't know, it's just like the fact that you have like so many different backgrounds. Like every one of you here have one different story, right? And for me, it's just like, I don't know, like I just love it. Like just to be able to hear someone else's story in a very short period of time. And then you're moving on with your life, I'm moving on with my life. But it's just like, I don't know, like I just love it, right? So the more revisions, the better. Common mistake number 2, you do not address what the admission committees are asking or looking for on the personal essay statement or statement of purpose. So a lot of times, because you already too excited in trying to tell the admission committee about, oh my God, yes, I'm definitely going to tell this. Like I have to tell about this one part of my life when I did this or that or whatever, and then you actually just forgot about like the rest. You know, especially the part on about why you want to study in that university. Sometimes, many times, it's just like missing from the essay, and it's very, very not a good. You don't want to do that, right? Do not write the obvious. You know, something like, "I choose your university because you are ranked in the top 5." I mean, the admission committee kind of like, yeah, we already know that. You don't have to say it. You know, like we just want to know like how in depth you've been doing research about our campus, right? Do not recite from your resume, right? If you actually realize this session is me kind of like saying something over and over again, don't you guys think? Right? I keep mentioning like Don't say something from your resume, right? Or you have to create like an attention-grabbing paragraph. You have to be able to tell what makes the universities different. It's basically just me going over and over and over again so that you kind of like remember it when you start writing the essay, right? Do not write what is already stated on your other application documents. I have this one person who argued that, no, I need to put my GRE score on my essay. And I would say, why? Because your GRE score will be sent to the university and they will know. And then this person said, I've done my research and I read some of the essays that some other international students would write, and they would actually get into this university that I want. And this person actually put this his GRE score in the essay. And then I would say, you can, but it's just unnecessary. It's just going to make your essay not, I don't know, not special. You know what I mean? So because like if you remember on my first few slides is you want to use the words economically, right? You want to only just use the words that important, right? Write more than the word limit. If they ask you specifically not to write for more than 500 words, then you do not want to write 101, right? A short essay means answer the questions right away and to the point. So there are some campuses where they would ask you to only write 250 or a maximum of 500. 500 words is super short, right? And then a lot of times, if you get some universities in that in this situation, then you can kind of like forget about the structure that I told you earlier, like having an introduction paragraph, and then you have to do, you know, the body paragraph is this and that. You forget about that, and then you just answer the questions right away, right? Did you do some research about the institutions you're applying? Right, it shows you that you really want to go to that university. Did you review the curriculum and faculty? Did you spend time thinking about what you really wanted out of your grad school experience or your bachelor's degree experience, right? Common mistake number 3, not proofreading your personal essay or statement of purpose before submitting. So this is why EducationUSA is basically here for you guys, right? We'll be able to help you in telling you about the flow of the essay. But then again, like I mentioned earlier, I don't feel comfortable in checking your grammar 100% because I'm not an English native speaker. I may make mistakes on the grammar. But if you have tried in looking for an English native speaker and you couldn't find one, let me know and I'll do my best. I mean, we have a lot of Americans at the US Embassy that maybe we can just like pull one of them to help you just only check for the grammar. But if you have someone in the office, in your school or something like that, that can basically just check on the grammar, that would be great. Because yeah, you definitely want to craft a unique, a memorable, a different essay, right? Ask others to provide a second set of eyes to spot mistakes you may have missed, right? And that's it. Good luck. And any questions? Who wants to start? Ya, Mbaknya yang di depan, boleh? Oh ya, wait for the mic first. Yes, it's coming.
Hi, Vina. Thank you for your sharing session. I think it's very useful for us. My question is, the university that I want to apply to required the applicants to submit creative statement. So it is basically a statement of purpose, an essay, but in a creative format, like website or PowerPoint or videos or anything. So it's not like written in a, like Microsoft Word or PDF. Do you have any particular tips for that? Yeah, thank you.
What do you want to study?
It's Tech MBA.
Tech MBA?
Yeah.
All right. I have not had someone did that before. But I can imagine on how you would do it, and maybe like a create like, I think it's because like this is like an example of a university where they will only pick someone that is just like different, right? Because they don't want to just like reading the boring statement of purpose over and over again from one applicant to another. But I don't know, you can be very creative. Like maybe you can create like a short video, like a short story, right? Or you can do like a video of yourself um, talking, but like in a unique content. You know what I mean? But I can't really think a lot at this point. But let's think about, let's brainstorm it together. Or maybe if someone else here in the room would like to, maybe in the same situation, and you want to give some suggestion, we can do that now too, right? But yeah, let's brainstorm together about it. I think it's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be fun. Yeah. All right. Anybody else? Yeah.
Hello, Miss Vina. Maybe this is a little bit out of content, but what is differences between study objective and statement of purpose? Because when I read on Fulbright essay, so this kind of really straightforward question. So did I should write an essay really straightforward, or I can be more exploring just like
Right.
statement of purpose?
Right. So the
Thank you.
question is, what is the difference between study objectives and statement of purpose? So study objective is not a term that is. I mean, I don't. Maybe there's like one university in the U.S. that use the term study objective, but it's not. It's not something that you would actually find that term in university. But yes, if you want to apply for Fulbright, they actually require you to write an essay, and their essay called study objective. It means that because when you apply for Fulbright, you're not applying for a specific university yet, because if you're doing masters, they are going to list some of the prospective universities that you can apply, but they just simply want to hear about the part where I talk about why you want to do what you want to do. So like just like the bigger goal. So it's minus the paragraph where you talk about the university. You know what I mean? So you definitely still want to talk about like why do you want to study a specific program, specific field of study, and then why you want to do it. Is there like something that you want to create, or you want to change, or you want to address the issue or something like that? But yeah. And with study objective for Fulbright applicants, we can also review that also, because like I have a couple of Fulbright awardees in the past that have shared their study objective, so I kind of like have some idea in mind of what is it that they're looking for. Yeah. But if you want to do LPDP and then you want me to read the essay, unfortunately I can't do it because you're not part of the LPDP, and I don't know exactly what the LPDP officials are looking for. So unfortunately for essay to LPDP, I can't read it. But basically, technically with EducationUSA, we are reading your university essays, right? But something like Fulbright, special case, we can also do that. Yeah, all right. Who else? Yes. Yang di depan mbaknya. Nanti kita bisa balik ke bagian sini.
Thank you, Miss. Since my background is technical, I do some research, and the professor that I contact asked me to create short research plan, and do the Education USA have a framework for short research plan, and is it similar with what we call statement of purpose, short research plan?
A research plan?
Yeah, short research plan.
Are you doing PhD? Sort of?
No, master, but since it's science and technical, the professor required me to send that.
So it's definitely something that I won't be able to answer, because then it's the question where you definitely want to ask yourself what kind of research you want to do in the future or with this university. If you have that, then you basically just I haven't. to be honest, I've never read a research plan before, but if this is if you can show me like the instruction from the university, let's take a look at it together and let's see from there. How about that? Yeah. Okay. All right. Awesome. Let's go back here. Other question?
Ya, terima kasih kesempatannya Mbak Vina. Mohon izin saya dalam bahasa. Saya ingin menyampaikan satu hal dan mungkin ada satu pertanyaan. Yang pertama yang ingin saya sampaikan, di essay klinik sebelumnya itu kita dijelaskan bahwa kalau personal statement atau dan di sini yang baru statement of purpose, memang di introduction itu memang hooknya itu perlu nendang lah, kalau mungkin bahasa saya seperti itu. Karena kalau biasa-biasa aja mungkin langsung di drop gitu ya sama admission team. Lalu pertanyaan kedua saya adalah mengenai rencana penelitian. Saya melihat di situ kita ada dua opsi yang bisa kita tulis di situ. Yang pertama kita menceritakan sebenarnya rencana penelitian kita yang original seperti apa biar orang atau admission team itu tahu gitu kan. Atau yang kedua kita men-state bahwa kita tertarik sama penelitian orang lain, profesor di sana atau siapapun yang biar mereka lihat oh ternyata kita juga researchnya sampai sana gitu. Jadi ada profesor yang kita tuju gitu. Nah menurut Mbak Vina baiknya seperti apa yang kita bisa state gitu. Apa kita bobotnya lebih banyak menceritakan rencana original penelitian kita atau lebih atau yang kedua tadi kita coba men-state sedetail mungkin penelitian yang kita tertarik dari profesor dari kampus itu.
I would say if possible to balance it, you know, kayak berarti kan kamu udah bisa meng-connect research yang kamu mau lakukan dengan research yang sudah ada di sana, balance it. Yeah, but if I have to choose one way or another, I would pick the first one, the research that you want to do heavier than the research that is already done. The research that is already happening in the US, it can be like in one sentence, just like a statement. The fact that you tell the admission committee that this research is already ongoing, right? But you definitely want to elaborate about your own research, definitely, that. And then the first one is about, yeah, but the hook, yeah, absolutely. Did you attend the one-on-one essay clinic? That one, yeah, absolutely. Good, yeah. Thanks for the question. Any other from this part before? Yeah, yang di belakang, and then we're moving on to this part.
I want to ask about the future career in the conclusion. So, I mean, like, if we have, in the future, I think we have several options for our future career. Like, for example, I'm in a major of law. So maybe to the future, I can be a lawyer or maybe a consultant in a company, like in-house lawyer. Or I also dream to be part of the government. So, how I create the story, if I have to choose just one, or I can just say, this is my, you know, the options that I have now. What you suggest?
If you want to mention like all three, it's fine. But then I know it's kind of like too much in one paragraph, right? So the idea here is, yes, we understand that you have a lot of goals in the future of after you get this degree, right? So it's because it's not necessarily that you can be able to only do one, right? But you'll be able to do like many other things. But for me to create the story, because in that short essay, you don't have to like tell every single detail about you. You can actually pick one. And from the three that you just mentioned earlier, I would pick the last one. The part about the government. Why? Because it's kind of like telling you like the bigger picture, you know what I mean? Like the fact that you're from Indonesia and then you're studying in the US and then you're coming back to Indonesia again, and to be able to work with the government and do something different than just like doing something that is kind of like not self-centered, but just only about you, by just simply saying that, yeah, I want to be a lawyer. You know what I mean? But I want to be a good lawyer. But you have, by you telling that you want to work in the government, there it will give you a room to kind of like tell the story about, okay, yes, you want to work for the government, you don't, but you don't stop there. You want to kind of like elaborate, like why do you want to work with the government? And then from there, the story is going to be interesting. Yeah. Does that make sense? Thank you. All right. Let's move on to this part. Ya, silakan yang di belakang.
Hi, thanks for dropping by. I think the question is in two parts. The first part is about how specific. You said we need to have a specific vision on our essay and what we want to do later on in life. How specific do you recommend it to be, if there's any guidelines or whatever? And secondly, for those of us who kind of know what we're going to do in the future, but still don't know the real specifics, would you recommend us somehow faking till we make it, or yeah? So how specific must we go? Thanks.
All right, that's a really good question. How specific about your vision that you should write? I think it's kind of like similar to your question, right? Because like you mentioned that you want to be like with this, you want to study law, and then after you graduate, she will have like a lot of things on the paper, right? Like, you can be a good lawyer, you can work with the government. So for me, again, like if you have like one vision where, I don't know, like just like very something that is very interesting and just, I don't know, just like different. And it's very hard. It's hard for me to like say it in a descriptive way without reading the essay itself, right? So if you have the draft, I can kind of like, again, like if you have like so many visions, write that on your essay, and then usually I would pick something that, how do you feel about we putting this specific vision on your essay over another, right? So I think it's going to be easier if I have the essay. But the second one about like you know you want to do, but you just don't know exactly what you like what you're going to do in the future. In this case, I would say be ambitious. You know what I mean? Like I have that on my on some of on one of the slides. Like you can just be very ambitious, even though you don't know if it's going to work out in the future about your dream, your goal. It's okay. It's okay. At least it's kind of like show the admission that, oh yeah, okay. So this student actually already know what he or she wants to do after graduate. All right. All right. Thank you. Any other question? Oh yes, silakan. Sorry, I didn't see.
All right. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Kasparina. I have one question only. Well, actually, I'm planning to apply for MBA program. It's SOM, School of Management in Yale, but I'm not really pretty sure that I will get accepted. Well, I just want to know like how many Indonesian students are there pursuing the degree.
In
Either
Yale?
bachelor or master degree in the Yale.
In Yale in general or Yale with the MBA program?
Yale in general.
Yale in general, I would say I can't remember. I can't tell you on top of my head, but there are definitely some Yale students, and I think in the past we have some events where we actually invited alumni from Yale. If I'm not mistaken, she studied forestry or something. But I have to take a look at my database about that. At least the one that we have are those who actually use at some point EducationUSA at America services. But I'm pretty sure, like in general, there are actually some Yale Indonesian students from Yale in like a bigger, larger number. For you to know that is by contacting their Yale Alumni Association, or next month we actually have an International Education Week. It's like on one of the Saturdays next month, where it's going to be like we're inviting as many as alumni association as possible, and let's hope Yale can make it. And then that's like one of the ways for you to ask about their how many Indonesian students there. But I can take a look at my database, but yes, the answer is definitely there are a couple of Indonesian students studying at Yale.
Yeah, because actually I'm planning to go back to India. I just want to attend that event over there, because there is no event in Indonesia. They have only in Hong Kong, if I'm not wrong, in Shanghai, and also in India, Mumbai and Delhi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or maybe like alternatively, you can email
Yes.
them. You can email them and maybe give
Request.
exactly.
Alright, yes.
Because we have like a couple of campuses at the moment where they're actually in Jakarta and have like a session. I know Harvard had one a couple of months ago. We got University of Virginia coming here to have a session. So yeah, email them and let's see, maybe they are actually, want to stop by to Indonesia and have a session, right?
Sure.
Awesome, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, ada lagi? Nope? Okay then, thank you guys so much for coming. I'll be here until 9 and I'll be happy to take some of your questions after this. Look forward to read your essay, your draft, so please have your essays and come to America and let's brainstorm together, all right? Thank you guys so much for coming and I'll give you back to America.
Okay, thank you so much. Please give a round of applause for Fina Latas. Thank you so much, Fina. As usual, you know our tradition. We would like to have your picture with America logo, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. And hopefully today's discussion is very helpful for your journey to continue your studies. And hopefully we can see you again in America's next event. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you.